Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar this morning. We're going to be looking at scaling up key clients, which I know is a topic which is interesting for everyone. So just to begin, I'm James. I'm the CEO of Vacancysoft. I've been founder, been working with recruitment industry for 18 plus years, and my background is a commercial role. Matt, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thanks very much. My name is Matt Gallivan. I've been working in the sales industry for about 24 years. The last 12 years have been in the recruitment space, both in rec tech and within an agency side. And I've worked both on new business and account management. And currently with Job Adder, a shameless plug, and I head up sales for EMEA and North America.
Fantastic. So moving on, and if you haven't heard of us, then I don't hold it against you. We're a labour market analytics platform, and we provide data and insights around client activity. We mainly have a blue chip client list, so we are familiar with the challenges associated with scaling up key clients. Matt, I'll let you explain Job Adder.
So Job Adder is a CRM. We are built by recruiters for recruiters. So we understand the needs and wants that you get out of a system. And we are HQ'd out of Sydney, Australia, owned by Seek. So we've got some very rich parents. But we are number one in APAC. I think we're currently number two in EMEA. We're basically a tech platform that gives stuff back to you. We want you to be actually spending less time in your platform and try to automate a lot of those mundane tasks so that you can get on with the job of being recruited.
So before we go into the meat of the presentation, I want to start by saying this. I do understand that not every recruitment business is the same. You know, you got some businesses which have a 180 model, some which are 360. Some of you might be doing search, others might be doing contingent. You might have people who are focused on specific regions, others in niches. Some of you may see your function about being working with existing clients on retainers and then sourcing candidates for them. Other of you may look at it like you've got very strong candidates and you look to leverage them to open up clients. Some of you may work with multinationals more, some with SMEs more. But I think what I'll say is this: I think the fundamentals of being client-centric are universal. So what I want to do today is say, look, put aside whatever you think, which says, well, we're different, put it to one side and let's just focus on what is it to be client-centric and how can we apply being client-centric to recruitment. So what we're going to do today is I've got 5 steps for the presentation. We're going to run through an audit steps. We're going to talk about CRM cleanup, BI data integration. Then we're going to go through what our top 10 tips are, as well as how marketing can help. And then we're going to talk about how you then track the KPIs. So with the audit, this is the boring part, which nobody ever really wants to do, but actually I think it's an essential step. In this one, look, I put in here like a filter. For your business, you can decide what your filter is, but let's just say, you're a perm recruitment business. If the point being, as soon as you start doing more than 4 fees in any one client, you may well be getting 100 grand plus from them. So even if you don't even think of them as a key client, they're looking at you as a key cost line. So that's worth that factoring. But nonetheless, and just to run through some of these very quickly, obvious point, when you have clients that are not profitable, that will translate into pressure on fees and that will translate into pressure on cash flow. So I know it's easier said than done, but where possible, try and have more profitable clients. Also look at what the underlying directions are in terms of profits and revenue. And if you're not sure, there's this lovely thing called Companies House, and any company which has got 10 million revenues or more is legally obliged to file their profitability and what they've been doing and how it's changing. Keep an eye on what the leadership changes are. When new management teams come in, obviously that can lead to a change in direction. That's worth being aware of. It's not always good change in direction. Sometimes a new person comes in, they're like, all we want to do is cut costs. And then the first thing I want to do is eliminate suppliers. All of these things are things which you want to almost like build a matrix on to help you understand where your pain points might be with specific clients. I think in terms of how we help in this one of the things which is always very interesting to analyze is where are you keeping pace? If their job flow is tidal, are you keeping pace with the tide? If they're starting to surge, are you seeing the benefit of the surge? What's happening in terms of the job flow you're getting from them? I mean, Matt, in terms of the rest of it, are there any specific things that you think stand out?
Yeah, I suppose the two there for me is the juice worth the squeeze? So what are your percentage of your fees? What are you taking from this? If they are kind of low number of roles but high profitability, then that's a client that you want to be all over. But how hard is it? How hard is it? And that comes back to your point, James, of how profitable they are. How much time are you actually spending on these clients? And the other one there is what provisions are they asking from you? So if they are putting loads of caveats to get to come on board with you, so there's lots of high clawbacks. It might be that they're looking for candidate replacements as well, and it's how demanding are they? Really puts them into a tier of, are they this kind of gold, silver, or bronze? And what's good for your company is different to others, but you still need these bases in. So this is a basis of saying what does good look like in a client, and then tier them so you understand which ones you need to spend more time with, which you need to spend less time with, and where do you have the relationships that you can pick up the phone and say, I've got somebody great for you. You definitely need to see this person, because those relationships are key, and they will help you to build them into from a bronze to a silver to a gold client, because often a gold client may not be the most placements, but they might be a lot easier to place people.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Matt.
The phone and go, it's me. Yes, you hammered us in the football. Great. Relationship stuff. I've got somebody great for you.
Yeah. And they'll typically pay the highest fees as well, those kinds of relationships, like as a percentage as well, won't they?
Yeah, that's my experience, is that when you've got that relationship, there's value to it. They see the value, and what they're saying to you is, yes, I know you, I value what you do. There's value to the people that and the process that you do and the technologies that you use, and so they understand then what they're paying for. And what you'll typically see is that you're able to get a higher rate than when you initially had to drop your rates to get through the door.
Yeah.
And so that's much easier to renegotiate.
Yeah, and the reason why we want to put together this slide for you guys is because quite often, there's an old saying which is, "Don't be afraid to sack clients." And if you find that, now sometimes we can react emotionally on things, but if you can be quite clinical and cold and say, right, across everyone we've done a lot of money with in the last 12 months, let's just start analyzing how we interact with them. And it might well be that there's a couple there that you go, well, actually, this one, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, as Matt said. We'd be better off dropping those ones, giving better service to other ones where we can actually make some more money from them. So I'm going to move on because we can get dragged caught in this all day. Matt, I mean, this is very much a you slide, but you tell me some of your horror stories about clients you on board with their data.
Look, and there are some real horror stories, but it says here, you put, I'm going to say rubbish in, rubbish out. You can change what you like on there, but for most recruiters, the CRM is the hub of what they do. It's where all their candidate data is, their client data is, and what your CRM should be doing for you is teeing up that kind of thing. So it should be setting tasks of what you need to do, and customize some of the data you have in there. So that might be around automation, around outreach. So actually, I'm going to make sure I send all of my clients this update email once a month, once a quarter, depending on what your cadence is and how you interact with them. But you should get your CRM to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you. But the issue you've got there, of course, is it's only as good as the data in there. So it might be to send it to all these clients, but if you haven't put the email addresses in, then actually it's not going anywhere. And so it really starts with cleaning your data, making sure that you've got a data set you can use, and that it's searchable. Because the last thing you want, honestly, the amount of people that come to job adder and say, yeah, but I can't search for candidates. You don't want to pay for more candidates if you've got them in your CRM already. So it really does start with clean your CRM, get it to where you need it to be, even if that's categorizing them. So they have gold, silver, bronze, diamond, platinum, whatever is, it doesn't matter the tiers, but you can clearly identify that when somebody goes into that account, what kind of service they're expecting, and then that follows through to what extra data you're putting in there. So what kind of job market data can you feed into your CRM that allows your guys, your recruiters, to be more knowledgeable? Oh, are you aware that such and such has happened? I don't know, the budget has just been released, we're out of recession, salaries are up, whatever it may be. You can give them information about them and their market. And this really ties into what Vacancysoft does, James. Is that what is the market analyzing, and how can we use that information? How can the recruiters have it at their fingertips?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And I mean, the only comment we'd make on this one is, once again, one of the things we've started doing with some of our clients is effectively injecting data into their CRMs, which enables you at end user level to actually just see share of wallet straight away, and to see when they're growing in ways you should be seeing the uptick from, and if you're not, enables you to have the insight to ask the questions. But we'll come on to that later. But I'm gonna move forward. This is, I think, this is the key of what we think. Actually, some of the top tips in terms of implementing a sales account management approach in terms of being more client centric. And so, look, starting with this one. Well, I know that most of the contingent industry will be 360 model, and obviously 360 works well. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the predominant mode. But what I see certain recruitment firms doing when they tell me it's very successful is to have very specific people within the team
Oh,
who
we're
are
losing you a bit there, James.
losing me. Hello?
Yeah. Oh, you're back. There you go.
Yeah, yeah. So having some specific people in the team who are 180, and then they will have a small number of clients where they're almost like project managers for that client, to make sure that client feels they've got one person to go to about anything and everything, and that person has someone they can be working with if they have any problems about anything. Now, I mean, I don't know, Matt, have you come across this much yourself, by the way? Because it's something I'm seeing more and more.
Yeah, we see this quite a lot now, is that there's this hybrid approach to, you may be a 360 recruiter, but you own these particular clients once they're in, and they have a dedicated point of contact. You get to know and understand them, and you have a responsibility for the outreach and the management of whatever happens in that account. So yes, you've got a responsibility to maybe find candidates as well, in general, but there's a set of accounts which are your most profitable, your most promising, and recruiters are starting to become almost like account managers, where they really understand what that account looks like for them. So they might know what sites they've got, what the different hiring managers need, the nuances of what they look for in a candidate, and that's all stored in your CRM, so it's not stuck with a recruiter if they happen to leave. But what you then see is that they become an expert in that client, and they can say, we should be leaning into them, we need to go and see them, and they own that entire relationship.
Yeah. I think this is quite an important question. You need to kind of, going back to client audit, to find what a perfect key client is for you, and then see against your client audit how many of them actually meet that. I mean, Matt, how often do you think that actually happens? Like what, like 10% of the time or something?
Yeah, it's usually the top accounts, those who are either most profitable or put the most roles to you. You spend 90% of your time with those 10%,
Mm.
and then you have a long tail of others that you, in reality, don't understand their potential, because you're not account managing them properly. And there needs to be, and as I said earlier, you've really got to segment them out to say, okay, these accounts we might want to speak to every few weeks, these every month, these every quarter, these every 6 months. And you understand what they are, but at least you've looked into them, and you can migrate them as you go. Actually, they've just had a new office, new CEO, and new funding. Those guys are going to be hiring. We need to move them up and put them into a higher volume cadence. But that all starts with, what does good look like for your business?
Yeah.
Are you a high volume, I don't know, entry level sales recruiter, so you're filling contact centers, or are you looking for CEO, C-suite, exec, those two are very different. Understand what, and define what some people call an ICP. What is your ICP, and does everyone in the business understand what that looks like as well?
Mm. Yeah, you stole some of my thunder there, but yes, absolutely. Create a plan. How are you going to increase revenue for each key client? And actually, I don't think there's anything wrong with being open with your clients about it. They're good clients, saying, "How do you know if you know that, for example, they're growing as a business, but you're not seeing the uptick in job flow?" You can. I think it's absolutely fine to say, "Hi, look, we have these insights that show that you've had 30% more jobs this year compared to last, but the number of jobs we're getting from you is the same. Um, is there a reason that you're not sharing, that you're not asking us to do with it?" Now, there could be 100 things that they'll say to you at that point, but having the data and the insight to enable you to discuss that is critical. And by the same token, that's also then becomes an internal workflow document where you have an account manager where they're then pulling in different consultants. So if you've got a big multinational, right, and you've secured PSL terms, now you might have one guy in the team that does accounting, finance. You might have another person who does IT or legal or HR. You start actually creating the kind of the teamwork. Say, right, like, how are we going to make sure we fill these roles and have everyone, whether you do that through split fees or whatever else, to actually have everyone serving to actually fill the roles against the client? I mean, Matt, from your perspective, which case study, do you have any case studies that you can think of which have this been done well?
Yeah, a few actually, and it's those who they understand what's actually happening in the client today and what's happening tomorrow. So they're having the discussions around kind of the future, but it takes time to get there. And there's two examples that spring to mind, and they're opposite ends of the spectrum. So one of them was we were speaking to a client, and they just happened to mention somebody they were working with, and one of our sales guys said, "Oh yeah, they're on a massive hiring spree at the moment. You guys must be doing great." And there was this kind of deadpan silence. And like, well, how do you not know that? Well, you don't know if you don't ask the question. If you're
Mhm.
just talking about, oh yeah, we get these run rate roles from you, but ask about their wider business, because it was actually another part of their business that was recruiting. They were dealing with a division, and another part was doing that really well. And do you know what? I'm going to give a bit of props to my sales team here. Is that one of my guys, and a shout out to Idris, is that he was dealing with one part of a small business, well, a very large business, and he just asked the question, "Is there anyone else thinks you could benefit from this?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, yeah, we'll come back to you." But he asked the question about 3 times, and they went, "Oh yeah, we'll bring them on the next call." And when they brought them on that next call, it ended up being their group division manager, and we're now pitching to them. And what turned into quite a small opportunity is now probably one of our biggest opportunities, because we asked the question. So look at how, where you can increase it, and also it's not just increasing the number of roles, it's increasing your net fee income, and explaining to them, well, actually, moving forward, we're going to be using this technology and this technology to provide you with a better view of what's going on, better candidates, better interaction, and what you should be having yearly reviews around what they're paying you. So it might be you can have the same number of candidates with them, but a higher net fee income by pushing up your value and helping them to understand that by going back to them with, we've done X, Y, and Z for you, not we've delivered this many candidates.
Yeah. Um, I think with that, I think especially with the key clients, yeah, I mean, you can create just transparent pricing models, just almost like a menu. Obviously, everyone wants to be very, confidential about their pricing and negotiate line by line. But in simple terms, if people know the pricing up front and they can analyze it, you can weight the model to do exactly that. If you want to drive volume, drive volume. If you want to drive exclusivity, drive exclusivity. Make it clear through a pricing schedule where you basically decide what you're giving away, but you make it part of the negotiation. Now, obviously, it can be hard to make this kind of shift because quite often, obviously, as recruiters, can be on the back foot where it's like there's fee pressure, fee pressure, fee pressure. The only real recourse you have is just to say, well, look, we're really good at what we do. But if you make that shift in terms of, but look, we don't want to get into a line by line negotiation, but here's our offer in terms of what you're looking at, which is how do you drive down your unit cost with us? Here's how we propose doing it. And having those conversations and building those schedules into contract can actually be very powerful. I know various recruitment firms that have done that, where they've made their agenda, Matt, I'm sure you do too, where they said, look, we will take the lower fee, but only for a 2-week exclusivity.
Yes, I did it in my agency. I was very, very clear about what me dropping my fee needs to come with something for me.
Mm.
Um, and one of the things I always talk about, the transparency of pricing, is I'm brutally honest about my value and my price. And so I will say, if and when you're trying to get through the door, there's got to be some negotiation. I would often say either exclusivity, so you get, I get X number of weeks, you get a lower price, or I'd say, okay, the first 2 roles are at that while I prove my value, but the 3rd role onwards goes up to X. And then it's on me to create that value and help them to understand it. But also it comes back to, I'm very clear about my value and and what my bottom line is. And it's not a race to the bottom for me. And I speak to lots of recruiters, especially in the market we're in at the moment, who are saying it's a race to the bottom. Like, well, if that's the case, what are they losing out on? Okay, well, you just, as we said earlier, rubbish in, rubbish out. So don't be afraid to state your case, state your price. I'm very clear about, I'm very open about pricing and those kind of things. And I say, yeah, but I'm worth it because of X, and you will see that. And then
Matt,
you need to read
I'm going to
that.
share with you a really funny one. I read this thread on LinkedIn the other day, just to add to that point. It was brilliant, and it was this TA writing around PSLs, and he says, if I've got a problem, if I've joined a company, he said, I've joined a company and we had massive problems filling our roles. So he said, the first thing I did is I looked at our PSL list and I looked at the agencies who were on PSL that hadn't put any candidates forward in the previous 6 months. And they were the ones that I went to, and I got the jobs filled really quickly. I just renegotiated terms with them.
Yeah, but that comes back to understanding your data and understanding,
Yeah.
what your clients are doing, and having a grasp on your sector and understanding what you do. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, but yeah, we can get sidetracked. But yeah, this is one of your favorite words, Matt. Cadence.
Yes.
Yeah, you go. Especially for you. But and look, like anything, like this, as a process, if you can get the cadence right, this should actually just flow. Even a CRM can be. Matt, can you? You've obviously got all the project management functionality in your CRM, right?
Absolutely. And my team are fed up with me saying this. If you've heard me talk before, you hear me say this, is that sales is a process, account management is a process, but it's a process that you need to stick to and follow. You need to be very open about it. And so I will say to our clients, we will contact you on, and I keep using this word cadence, but this cadence. So we agree, is it monthly? Is it 6 weekly? And this is what I will be speaking to you about. So I want to talk to them about, I don't know, how their previous hires are going, what they've got coming up, other hiring managers, projects, funding, all those good things. And I set that in stone with them before we ever go live. I then stick to that. But what your CRM should be doing for you is teeing those up. You have got this today. You previously spoke to this person. You spoke about these things, and teeing all of that up for you, and understanding that not all of it is video chat, face-to-face video. It might be that you say, look, at the end of every month, I'm going to send you a report on what's gone on, and your CRM should be able to do that. So how many hires have you made? How many, what have you paid for them? How many interviews you had? How many went through, were at paper sift stage? All of that should be filtered into a report, and it might be emailed to them monthly. And it says, here is your X recruitment company monthly follow-up. And they get to see all the interactions you've had with them. Your CRM should be doing that for you. That should be automated. The face-to-face, the in-person stuff, the Zoom calls, the calls, all of that is what your time should be spent doing. And so you have sometimes 3 or 4 cadences for the same client: our marketing material, our follow-up, our personal stuff, and our face-to-face. And each of those will have different cadences, but what that customer will feel is the value that you bring. You're always in touch, you're always front of mind, you're sending them something, and you've already agreed that with them. So it is something that I'm huge on, and you make them into mini projects. And this all comes back to what James was saying earlier about being a 180, is that's your focus. Whilst you're doing your account management piece, your project piece, you are focused on them.
Matt, a quick question for you. Is there anything on Job Adder that you think Job Adder does really well?
Yeah, it tees all of this up for you, right? So actually, there's two things it does really well for you. So it can automate all of these tasks, so that the sending out of reports, whatever else, but also prompting you in your calendar to say, by the way, you need to be calling this person today. You last spoke about this and this. The other thing that I really like is that none of us, if you're a recruiter, you're in sales. I hope that's not a surprise. But none of us like sitting there writing up the notes, especially if we've been out on site. One of the things Job Adder does really well is voice to text. So even on the mobile app, on the desktop, you can say, spoke to Dan. He's got 3 roles coming up, 2 in sales, 1 in marketing. Need to speak to him about this, this, and this. Contact him on this date, and it will do all of that for you in the system. So it all gets logged in the system. It's there. And you not have to sit there and write out copious notes that you kind of wrote on a pad or tried to do in the meeting. It's that real in-time stuff that makes it nice, intuitive, and quick. As I said at the very top of this call, and you spend less time in your CRM and more time on the personal stuff. So those are 2 real quick things that we do, I think, that really helps with this outreach.
Right. So Matt, I'm sharing this one because this is something which I was speaking to one of our clients about, and they were telling me they're doing really well. And I asked them what they were doing, and I suppose what they were doing is with the key accounts, goes back to the multi-skill, multi-division, etc. They were able to see almost basically if any one consultant had done a fee into a company, you could set it up that they would get notifications if anybody else in the team had a meeting set up with them. And this was they were telling us this is very helpful because you'd have people where they just drop off, right? Where you have a contact, it drops off, but actually because they're just running around being 360, but then anchoring with a 180 meant that you could bring these people back into the loop with an easy, structured way.
Yeah, that's absolutely. And so one of the things I like and we use in CRM is to say, we have like a manager's view, so you can see all that's going on with that client. And so if you're a recruiter, you might see, okay, here's the meetings I've got. But when you look at it as an account, you can actually see everything that's going on in there. So you can go, oh, actually, I know Jim or Louise is speaking to this person. Great. I'll hook up with them and see what they're doing. The biggest thing for me on this slide is, are you asking for a referral? If you're doing this account management really, really well, be really open with them. Have the relationship. Say, do you know anyone else that is looking at the moment? Oh, well, actually, yeah, I do know such and such. The amount of work that can come from referrals is unreal. The trust is already built in. You're not cold calling somebody. Can you give us a chance? It's they understand that somebody else is doing business with you. That instantly gives you kudos. But not enough of us do it. There's this kind of fear in the UK around, well, will you refer me? And we see this in other countries where they do it religiously. We need to adopt that as well, that once you've built that relationship and you've got a few people in there, they're doing really well, they're happy, you've had your review and they've gone, yeah, you're awesome. Go, well, okay, do you know anyone else that's hiring at the moment? Because I've got loads of candidates I can place.
Yeah,
And it might be their personal as well as their business. Remember that.
It goes back to what you were just saying 5 minutes ago, doesn't it? It's like that one of your guys who just literally was on a call says, "Is there anybody else?" And he asked 3 times, and then suddenly he's got a minor prospect has become a major prospect.
Absolutely, and we put limitations on what that looks like. When we ask a client an open question, they will give you an open answer. Can you think of anyone else that could be doing business with us? They might think their mate down the pub, their brother, somebody they work with, another division, a partner group.
Yeah.
They will put you in touch with them. So don't just say, is there anyone else in the business? Just say, is there anyone else hiring at the moment that you can be putting me forward to?
And what this client did, which was very impressive, they actually, so if they saw that, Joe or Jane or John was going for a meeting, that actually they'd see it, they say, can you ask them if they've got anything going on here? But to make it, instead of like a begging, just a system-led approach. So that person would almost have that prompt. Oh, do you know, what are you guys doing here? Because we'd be happy to help. And to create that internal request for referral. So that person going in was always cross-selling, which I think is something, as you said, Matt, recruiters in the UK, some of them do it, but not enough.
Not enough. Yeah, and it's because we're all focused on the money we need to make and the candidates we've got in the pool, right? Then I get that, I do, I get it, but I would
Yeah.
rather do more.
Yeah, and then obviously, you can institutionalize it. Like some of the larger recruiters, they incentivize cross referrals. So they have bonuses and all the rest of it to actually encourage it. Not all recruitment firms will work that way, but if we operate on the basis of the more money we make, the higher the tide rises, and everyone's there's more money for everyone anyway. So whatever your financial incentives are, regardless, just creating that culture of everyone's working together to help each other, right?
Yeah, it's many hands make light work. Get as many streams of candidates as you can. Um, you know, most TAs will offer internally, oh, if you refer somebody, there's an incentive for you. We do it. I know others that do it. Why would you not be doing that as a recruiter? Because you're only paying on them when you make a placement, and
Yeah.
you paid. So it's not as if it's money out of your pocket, and you factor that into your financials, obviously. But this to me is a no-brainer. Why, if you're not doing this, start.
Mm, yeah. And the other one, which somebody told me about, which they said was working really well for them, was basically they were operating quite a sophisticated model with most of the consultants being 180, being 360, but then a handful of 180s. And then what would happen is that the AMs would be going in, and each time they'd be bringing in a different consultant, a different area, depending on what that client said their biggest problem was. So if the client said, look, over the next 6 months, we really need to build out this team, they say, okay, let's come in the diary. I'm going to bring in my lead specialist there. And that person would have a really, really good insight in terms of the skills and demands, talent shortages, all the rest of it, exactly what the salaries were, so that the account manager is there as the central point, but then the extra consultant's the expert. And then suddenly they started pivoting away. And what they fed back to me was that was actually working really well. Now, in a small business, a lot of the time, the account manager is the MD. The challenge is that how do you go from replicating what naturally a small business does between the managing director with a small group of consultants to being a larger firm? I mean, I don't know, Matt. What do you think?
So in software world, we call that pre-sales, and we have somebody who attends our calls who is an expert in the particular area that we're talking to a client about. In recruitment world, that they can still be called pre-sales, but it's somebody who has that key knowledge that adds value. And I've spoken actually over maybe the last 12 months, I've spoken to a lot of agencies that are putting this in more and more, that says they do one of two things. They're either upskilling their recruiters, so they have a better understanding of the market, the offering, the roles that have been placed, analytics, so they actually come with analytics. This is what I've done for you. This is what we can do for you. This is what you're benefiting from us. And it's position yourself as an expert. So it's not just, and I say just, I'm a recruiter in recovery, so I get it. You're pulled in many different directions, and often you're turning up to a meeting and you're trying to place the candidates you've got on the book and you're trying to hit a number. This is more about having an expert in your business on your business, their business, and the market. And that's all they do. That's their dedicated piece. And it may be that you have somebody that is specific to technology, or somebody that is specific to marketing or engineering. It doesn't matter. They might be across disciplines, but really understanding that they're at every meeting and they really add value to those meetings. And your cost of acquisition goes slightly up, but your closure rate goes up even more.
This is one which I think, if you do it right, it's really powerful. And nowadays with LinkedIn, there's no excuse not to, really. How do we talked earlier about, you might have to lose key accounts to make space for new ones. But actually, one thing which you can do, and it's a bit of an obvious one, but what is your method for tracking key accounts moving? Matt, what does Job Adder do here?
So I'm a bit fanatical about this. I if you're not doing this, I'd love to speak to you and ask you why, because it's a no-brainer. It's twofold to remember. It's the person who's moved. So where are they going, and what will they be doing in their new role, and will they have higher responsibilities? But the role that they've just left, yeah. So it's how do you then help backfill for those roles? we do a number of things. So we actually we connect with LinkedIn, so you can actually see people's LinkedIn profiles in system. But you're absolutely right here, James. If you're not doing this, there's no excuse to not do this when you've got LinkedIn, CRMs that do it. There's technology to help you. This is the lower hanging fruit, right? And especially if you're taking somebody who's gone into a senior position, what you'll see is they want to make their own stamp, their own mark. They want to make changes, and they bring in trusted advisors. So you see them lean into, I work with this person over here. I'm creating a position. I know that works. That doesn't mean that person wants to move. That doesn't mean that they're right for that position, but they will have them in mind. And your job then is to add the value to that. And say, okay, well, I've got 3 people who've done that exact role. I know you've moved, and it starts with a congratulations. It starts with congratulations, on your new role. Hope it all goes well. We worked over here together, or I've placed things like this, whatever it is. Don't sell on that first congratulation message, please. That's the worst. But have a genuine contact strategy that says congratulations, and then go back to them after 2 weeks, 3 weeks. How's your first period been in? Have you settled in?
Goes back to cadence, Matt. Build a project management. You just actually that person's mood, set up the cadence for it, right?
Absolutely. And it's I'm nothing if not consistent. I told you I say these things a lot. My team play Matt Gallivan bingo. But these things work. These things work, and that's why people do them. That's why successful people do them. And so really you should be tracking all of these changes. And for me, it's not just the people moves. It is the changes in hiring patterns. It is the changing in, are you getting funding, office moves? People like to post this stuff out. It's not a lot of work. You should be scanning this a couple of times a day, don't go down the rabbit warren, but spend 5 minutes scanning this information and go, I need to reach out to that. I need to reach out to this person.
And then just importantly, putting aside the time later to reach out to them.
Yes, actually doing it. It's great to see it on LinkedIn, but actually do the follow-up.
We'll come to that separate point. But Matt, what do you think about this? This is something that I've seen, I've been speaking to clients about. But as a backdrop, one of the things which I've noticed is that more and more the top performing recruitment firms are trying to position themselves to operate in the way that consulting firms operate. And they're starting to put in place some of the methodologies that IT consulting firms use in particular, in terms of per client reporting, and looking at scale up strategies, etc. And this is something which I've noticed amongst the IT recruiters, interestingly, especially when they've got big contract books. Matt, have you started to get these kinds of requests with Job Adder, this kind of thing as well?
All day, every day is what we're speaking to people about is, and what they're doing is they're providing basically QBRs, quarterly business reviews, and they're saying this is what good looks like. And we even have some of them now who are producing reports to such a level that says their end client is putting it in their board report. So when the HRD or the in-house team are producing these reports to say monthly, quarterly, how things are going, they're actually using the data from that the recruiter's sending them. And that's doing 2 things. A, it's showing value, but B, it's making you very sticky. If you're providing this kind of stuff and they've put in their last 6 board reports, they're not going to stop doing that. They still want this stuff. And you're making their life easier. This is all of it in a neat little bundle. But then it's great to pass that over. Here you go, here's your report. You need to spend the time to unpack it with them and understand what goals of theirs are you working towards? Why does this look good or bad? And you need to address it. But really just leaning into that and saying, this is something we do religiously. We are now, we are preparing these things for you every quarter. We will go through them, and the customer will get to a point where they set that time in. And we have recruiters who are coming to us and saying we need to set up more reports, and they see the value in it. So it's something we're speaking to recruiters in, day out.
And Matt, just a bit of a shameless plug here. And actually, what we're being asked to do is we're being asked to feed into these reports with the wider market data.
I'm not surprised, because it's one thing to see what you're doing, but you only know if that's good when you see what the market is doing.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. So look, anyway, so otherwise, it shouldn't all just be on sales teams. I think marketing have a big part to play in this. For starters, they should be helping you design and create client-centric pitch documents. They should know what that is and what that means. If you're not sure, then look, by all means, pop a note to me or Matt. We'll send you some samples. They should be looking to create non-stop content like LinkedIn, on socials, get you peace of mind, front of mind space. Webinars, events might be expensive, but webinars aren't. Get key clients coming down, identify key issues and themes which are relevant to your clients. And last but not least, Matt, like you said, avoid that transcribes phone calls to notes on your CRM. You see, you stole my thunder, Matt. There you go. There's a slide just for you there.
Why would you not? Why would you not have these things? It's about making life easier. One of the interesting things on the marketing front, I was speaking to a marketing manager 2-3 weeks ago, and what I found interesting is that they were saying they're adopting an ABM approach, what they actually call a mini ABM approach. And so ABM is account-based marketing. So you take your different levels of clients, gold, silver, bronze, whatever you call them. And in there, they have very different approaches, because if you're going after somebody that is a 10-man, 20-man business, one contact can often be enough. Whereas actually, if you're going after a 200 million pound business, you will have multi-threading. So you'll have lots of different decision makers, lots of hiring managers, and they will have different marketing needs depending on what they do. So if you're speaking to the hiring manager of an engineering firm, but also then you're also speaking to the finance director of a engineering firm, they've got very different languages that they speak, interaction scales, all these things. So don't be scared of setting out and challenging your marketing person, or if that's you, having a look at what is my mini ABM for my bronze customers. And within that bronze customers, if you are an MD, hiring manager, FD, whatever it is, and in my gold customers, it looks very different. Get marketing to work for you so they are constantly generating leads for you. And again, all of this needs to come through your CRM. It needs to sit in the same place. If you've got 5 systems you need to check to see what's going on, that's a pain. Even if your CRM connects with another system that does it, don't be shy. Look for an all-in-one solution.
So I was touching this earlier. I've done this is like Matt. By the way, I completely agree with you. And before I say this, Matt, just one question I had, which just popped in my head. Do you guys, when you have case studies which you're going to market with, can you think of case studies where businesses have been able to use the CRM in a way which has enabled them to scale up clients in that context?
Oh yeah, loads. And we've got, if anyone wants to reach out to me on LinkedIn, I'll share a number of case studies with them. But one that comes to mind is they were spending an absolute fortune on job boards and getting candidates in. And it was, what they wanted was better search functionality. And they were saying, right, sit with me. How do we now add more to this person? Because it was all about their cost of acquisition. Now, what actually happened was, because they used their CRM better and their search functionality better, their time to hire went down. So they didn't have to go out and find candidates. They used the candidates they had. And that marginal gain was noticed by the customer. They came back and said, oh, you guys have been much quicker recently, blah, blah, blah. They had a discussion with them. They said, yeah, we're using this technology that does this. And what that person said was, oh, right, that's great. I know somebody who's having a problem over here. And they introduced them. It was one role. So they introduced them for what, that's all they expanded by. But the person in that meeting happened to be the MD as well. It then went, no, this is what we should be doing. They brought on other divisions. So it was all about proving they actually offered a service that was meant to be for them, that then benefited the client, who then brought more business to them. So it's really demonstrate your value, use technology, use techniques, and then help the customer understand that value that you're adding. So, which is often hard, right? Because they just want to place a candidate and they want to move on. I get that. And it's not always easy, but if you can do it in 10% of your businesses and then it moves to 20% and 30%, it's all net incremental gains.
Mate, 100% agree. Sorry, the slides jumped ahead, but
Nope.
but look, so not too many slides left. I just wanted to just give you I talked about it earlier, like a case study, just to explain these charts a little bit. Bulge bracket, for people who aren't familiar with the term, it's the largest investment banks. That's J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, UBS. There's 7, 8 of them overall. And what I've done here is I've just visualized their week-to-week job flows. So you can suddenly see like, ooh, they've had a little bit of an uptick in the last few weeks. And then we can just see where the actual focus of the hiring is over the last few weeks. And then you could then drill in further to see exactly the specifics of the role, etc. And actually, one of the things that we've been asked a lot to do is to help our clients, help the recruiters identify which of our clients are surging at the moment. Like we've got these relationships already, but it's very, unless not every client is so nice that they ring up every time for everything, especially when they got internal TA teams. So actually having the insight of when the surge happens means that we're able to help you be on top of them, source candidates in advance, which you can get in front of people. I would say this function's actually been one of the most popular functions for us in terms of our clients, helping them make more money from existing relationships over the course of the last year. Matt, do you have this kind of thing where you when you talk to people, this on their radar when you're speaking to people in the industry?
Interestingly, yes and no. And it's kind of you only know what you know.
Mm,
Yeah. So when people are aware of it, they're very focused on it, and they're saying they are tracking changes, they are tracking their market ups down, so they can actually contact people 3 months before their hiring surges. And we're hearing a lot of this. When we raise it with people who've not done this, they kind of look at us blankly, and they're like, "No, what are you on about?"
mm,
And it's a bit like opening the Holy Grail in Indiana Jones. Like you see all this light coming out, and it's like, that's amazing. We should be doing that. So it is
mm.
really, there's two camps that people are in. But those who understand what data can do for them, and look, I'm admittedly I'm a data geek. I'll put my hands up. But those who really understand what data can do for them are totally invested in it. And then we've got the kind of those who just don't know. And it's on an education process, because why would you not? If this data is
Mm.
available, why would you not use it and kind of use it to strategize and focus on those who are growing, and not those who are in decline?
Yeah, it's interesting actually because I mean, Matt, obviously you and I have been in this game for a while now. I don't know about you, but if let's say we go back 10 years, the kinds of conversations I have nowadays are so different, right?
Yeah, yeah. 10 years ago, I was having to prove that the data had value,
Mhm.
and almost having to beat doors down. Whereas now you come in with a data led approach, and people are biting your hand off.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
they need it, and it's because their business is asking them for it. They're saying, prove what you're saying with data, back it up with data more and more, because data is more readily available. And so, yeah, 10 years ago, James, we've had this discussion, is that
Mhm.
sometimes you felt like the lone voice, whereas now you feel like you've got a megaphone, and everyone's listening. So it's been a nice change.
Well, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? But I mean, look. Otherwise, I mean, there's something else which we talked about earlier: cadence and KPIs. I mean, Matt, what are your thoughts with this? I mean, what do you think?
So if we look at this from a purely sales point of view, your CRM should be tracking everything for you, right? It should be telling you where your recruiters are falling down, where they're excelling. And I mentioned earlier that my team play Matt Gallivan Bingo. It's one of the things I always say to them is, people respect what you inspect, not what you expect. And so if you're inspecting their sales figures, their call metrics, their meeting metrics, that doesn't mean you're in there every day kind of seeing what's going on, but they understand it's being reviewed. And I'm very open about KPIs. So I say to them all, this is what you're going to be measured on. And we're going to discuss this bit weekly, this bit monthly, and this bit quarterly. And it's an open discussion about what good looks like. And they have a voice into that as well. And then we use our CRM to track all of that. So it gives me reports. I don't have to go search for them. CRM gives me a report that says, this person's excelling, this person needs help, and this is where they need help. And I can see that from like exactly what a whiteboard does for you, but we've brought it up to date. So rather than the whiteboard, we all often work from home now. It's all in the CRM, and I can pull reports from my senior manager or the board and say, this is exactly what's going on. If you're still doing this manually, my heart bleeds for you. But your CRM should be keeping a track of all your KPIs and being able to tell you which bits are struggling and which bits are excelling.
Good. Anything else on this one, Matt? Or
Well, just this, and as when you are looking at your KPIs, are you using the same KPIs you've always used because you've always used them? Is it time to review them and understand what good looks like? Ask your team what they think they should be measured on. Ask yourself, what do I think good looks like, and maybe go to your manager. Have a voice in it, and you get everyone to buy into them, because KPIs are not there for beating people up. They are there to help manage them and support them in the areas that they need support. But if you don't know, you don't know. So yeah, it's often something I review our KPIs every 6 months, and what they look like within them. I might not change them, but I do review them.
yeah, and I think it's also about market conditions as well, isn't it? Because obviously, to give you an extreme, you're going to have to revise your KPIs just when the pandemic hit, right? Because
Oh yeah,
nothing demotivates people more than basically market conditions are rubbish, and they're being told, oh, but all your KPIs are the same. You're like, well, you guys are just not on the same planet.
yeah, yeah. Do you know what market changes? Even things like you know, we were in a recession. We're out of a
Mm,
recession. Time of year,
mm,
especially given if you are in retail, you're on the kind of September to December run up versus the January to April. Is it very different for you? Do you need to flex those KPIs in and out depending
mm.
on what your team are doing? So don't be open. Don't be closed to change. Be open to what good looks like for you, and take in all external factors, because that's the only way you're going to get a real world outcome.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. All right, so I'm gonna just move on. For anyone who's interested in finding out how we can help, get in touch. We've got a lovely promotion. Well, team will just drop us a note. Our team will follow up with you. Matt, are you doing any promotions at the moment? I mean, I didn't get a slide back for you on this one.
Yeah, well, actually, that's because we're releasing it at the end of this week, so marketing would have told me. But what I will do is I will send something out to everyone that's attended this. We will send you a mailer with an offer that we've got for June, and maybe into next quarter if you're nice. But yeah, we will. It'll all be on our website, but I will send it out to everyone that's on here.
Lovely, lovely. But otherwise, look, I'm James. Thank you for coming. Thank you for attending. Thank you for listening. We're Vacancysoft. We've been going since 2006. We work with most of the largest recruiters, and we'd love to work with you if we're not already. And Matt, I'll let you finish.
Yeah, I said if I love people reaching out on LinkedIn. So if there's ever anything I can help with, I don't care what part of kind of recruitment cycle you want to chat through. I'm happy to do it. Even if you want advice on other technology, get me on LinkedIn. Love a chat. The details are on there, and I'm Matt Gallivan. And it leaves me to say, actually, thank you, James. Thank you for putting this together. Lots of great insight there, and thank you everyone for joining us.
All right, everyone have a nice day.
Thanks, out.